Yo, what is good, everybody? It's your boy Golden Falls Golden, whatever you want to call me, and I'm back with part 2 of What If Deku Was the Reincarnation of Piccolo. And it seems like y'all enjoyed the first part. I'm glad to see that because I really like the idea and where I'm going to be going with this. So I hope y'all continue to enjoy. And as maybe some of you guys can tell, I've been yawning a little bit. I always try to cut it out, but it's kind of like a staple now. I kind of leave in the yawns here and there sometimes just because, well, that's just how it is. And that's kind of, people used to point that out all the time on my older videos. But it is a little bit later in the night. I had to do some recording for a different channel, and I wanted to get some gameplay for that channel. And I'm in the process of making a video for my gaming channel, so that's why I'm a little late in terms of recording this. But of course, I'm still going daily, so that's why I'm recording it right now. And nonetheless, I don't really have much more to say. Leave a like, leave a sub, check the links in the description below, all that good stuff. Check the memberships if you want to see videos early, get in contact with me, stuff like that, all that stuff. And yeah, that's all I had to say. And let's just get right into the last Namekian Izuku Midoriya, and this is part 2. Let's get it. Izuku Midoriya has finally gone into UA. UA, the home of the future heroes. He then approaches the school and gets ready for his first day, and as he walks in, nobody even looks at him. It seems like weird. Well, let's just be honest. UA is gonna be full of people that look different, look odd, and have strange powers. So what's the point of making fun of a guy that's bulky and green? Of course, don't forget, Izuku is pretty shredded. He's been working out like crazy and been training like crazy. And he begins to head into his classroom 1A. He looks at the doorway and sees that it's a giant door. Of course, he's pretty tall himself. I mean, like, he's a pretty big dude in terms of his Namekian form. So this does work out for him. Definitely beneficial. He walks into the door to see Bakugo arguing with Tenya Ida. He kind of ignores it and just goes and sits down, and a couple people begin to ask him what his quirk is, especially with the way he looks and stuff like that. Izuku explains that his quirk is kind of odd, a Namekian quirk that involves strength enhancement, regeneration, and a couple other things. And really, that's about it. Of course, he has this powers of using ki, which some people do question him about, because of course they do know about it, and Izuku just explains here and there what it is. They then ask him if he was born like this, if he always looked like this, and Bakugo kind of laughs, saying that of course he was, he's always looked like a green loser. And Izuku, ignoring him, not really even paying attention, says that no, he has another form, and, well, it looks just like them, like a regular human, but he's been in this form for a while. Frankly, this is kind of the form he knows best nowadays, especially after how long he's, well, stayed in it, because, well, he felt like this was the best way of going about it. This is his true self, his true power, and he felt that embodying his quirk would be the most beneficial thing he could possibly do. And everybody hearing this is not only shocked, but pretty impressed. And just as they're impressed, Aizawa walks in, telling them to stop gushing over their classmates, tells them all to sit down. He does compliment Izuku, saying that that is the best course of action when you are dealt this type of, well, this type of deck. Izuku thanks him, and Aizawa just nods his head, telling them all that they're going to be doing something. They're all going to be taking a bit of a test. Everybody's like shocked that they're going to be taking a test, but of course he begins to explain that it's more than just some regular old test. What it is exactly is a quirk assessment. So he tells all of them to get on their PE outfits and head outside. When they all arrive outside, and obviously in their PE outfits, Aizawa then asks Izuku to step up first to throw this baseball as far as possible. He does just that, throwing it with all his might, and he launches that thing 2,000, maybe even 3,000 meters. in raw strength, Izuku is extremely powerful. I mean, we've seen it. He was able to punch the zero-pointer so hard that it staggered backwards. He was able to punch holes through robot after robot, varying from the 1 to the 3-point robot. And what else can he do? He's never seen his true limitations, so he might be able to even do even crazier things. Nonetheless, everyone is impressed and begins to say that this is going to be so fun. But just as this is said, let's just say, well, Aizawa flips the script, saying that whoever gets last place is going to be expelled. Everybody hearing this is shocked, scared, but some of the other students that aren't really scared at all, or more powerful students, begin to think of this as a pretty good challenge nonetheless. Some of them don't believe they'll even get close to the bottom, so let's be honest, it doesn't matter that much, but still at the end of the day, they're gonna give it their 100%. Izuku does just that, Bakugo does, Todoroki and many others give it their entire being to basically push themselves to show what they can do in this quirk assessment. And of course, Izuku ends up on top. Let's not get it twisted. Izuku is extremely powerful. He would most likely shatter the grip strength, and anything strength related he'd destroy. And on top of that, he's extremely fast, sidestepping races. He can literally fly. It would be unconscionable to think that Izuku wouldn't destroy almost everybody in every category. So Izuku would be number 1 hands down, but after all of it is said and done, Aizawa would announce that Hagakure, the invisible girl, is actually the one at the very last place. Of course, he said that he basically lied to make sure everybody tried their hardest, in which Momo Yaoyorozu says that wasn't that just already obvious in the first place, but of course to them it really wasn't. Izuku would then basically listen to Aizawa for a little bit longer and get ready to be dismissed entirely. Izuku is then pointed at by Aizawa, and Aizawa wants to know basically how good he can do without his quirk active. Izuku's confused, asking why would it matter, but Aizawa says that he's had his quirk active for a long time. And just as Aizawa looks at him activating his quirk, the green from Izuku's skin begins to change back to its normal color, and he actually stays the same height, but the muscles and the strength and basically all the muscle tone that he's built over this entirety of this time stays exactly the same. So let's just say it's a growner, or basically a grown-up looking Izuku with a lot more muscles and a lot stronger in that regular form. Aizawa smirks slightly and nods, saying that this is kind of what he thought. That his quirk must have basically mended with himself so easily that now it's kind of mimicking the way his other body is as well, just without the extra, long ears, antennae, and also the green skin. And of course Izuku is shocked to see this, and Aizawa deactivates his quirk. Izuku then can feel that he can reactivate and activate his Namekian form whenever he wants, but feels that he's betraying himself if he doesn't stay in that Namekian form. He begins to tell Aizawa this, saying that this is just how he feels about these things, and Aizawa says that's fine. He just wanted to make sure that basically he felt okay with being in that green form the entirety of the time, because at the end of the day, there are going to be people that are going to be terrified of him. There are going to be people that believe that he looks like a villain, an evil person. And Izuku says that he's fine with that, going back into his Namekian form, and he's actually slightly different now, taking on a different bit of a body shape, not as bulky, but still pretty lean and muscular. Of course, Izuku would basically have that same Namekian style that he already had before, but he would look slightly different. Izuku can feel that his strength did not deplete at all, but now he's slightly more nimble. Maybe it was a good idea to switch out of the form at that moment, because his body was getting a little more stocky, if you could say. Nonetheless, everybody would eventually be dismissed, and that day, the first day of UA, would come to a close. After some more time would pass, about a day of course, Izuku would go home, come back to UA after basically spending the night at his house, going to sleep, and when he would arrive at UA, the class would be told by Aizawa what they were going to get into next. Hiro training, the first bit of training they're actually and finally going to get. Izuku has been super psyched about this, and he's super excited what to hear about what they're going to be doing. And when he hears that it's going to be heroes versus villains training with All Might himself, Izuku gets super excited. All Might would come barreling through the door, telling them that he is here. And now it's all time for them to head out and basically go do some heroes versus villains training. When they all head out, they're all separated, or after, of course, they get their hero outfits, they're all separated into small groups and told who is going against who. It's going to be 2v2s, heroes versus villains. The hero team will be Izuku Midoriya and Ochako Uraraka versus Katsuki Bakugo and Tenya Ida. Of course, hero team would have to go seize the bomb or capture both villains and seize the bomb. Nonetheless, as long as they touch the bomb, the whole thing is over. Izuku would then sit with Ochako as Bakugo and Tenya will go up and defend that said bomb. Bakugo mocking toward Izuku, saying that their fight will be glorious, but Izuku will be a pile of green mud. Izuku just ignores Bakugo and tells Ochako that he has a plan, that they could just go straight up to the window where that bomb is, destroy the window, and just hit it with a quick little touch. Ochako thinks this is a great idea. I mean, of course it's simplistic, quick, and just anything, or just quick and easy, and they won't have to worry about a thing. So that's exactly what they're going to do. The 5 minutes are up, or the 5 minutes that they were given, and All Might tells them that they are allowed to go. He then grabs Ochako, flying upwards, and as they find the bomb, he shatters the window, and Ochako jumps and grabs the bomb. Just as they do this, Bakugo is pissed, hearing what just happened, and he comes flying back into the room with the bomb in it. Izuku, not really paying attention at all, is about to get exploded in the face by Bakugo, but Izuku just slides out of the way. But that explosion would hit Tenya Ida, sending him outside the window. Just as this happens though, Izuku would jump out, grabbing Tenya before he can hit the ground and flying him back to All Might. He puts him on the ground, and All Might would immediately tell him to get him to Recovery Girl, but just as Izuku is picking him back up, he can feel something in his hands, then his fingertips. He puts his hands on Tenya Ida, or on the chest of Tenya, and immediately this aura begins to glow more and more and more. Out of nowhere, the wounds on his body are completely gone, and he just stands up as if he was completely regenerated. He's completely fine. Izuku looks at his hands and is in complete shock. How did he do that? He's not quite sure. Maybe the Namekian knowledge of that occurrence will eventually come to him, but how is that even possible? Is that even a thing he can really do? Izuku, realizing this, thinking that maybe this healing factor is perfect. He can be the perfect hero. This is amazing. All Might, of course, is completely shocked about what just occurred and asks if Izuku even knows. But Izuku, of course, says he doesn't. He has no idea, but maybe one day and maybe soon he'll figure it out, because this is definitely something you need to figure out. Nonetheless, All Might basically has him take Tenya over to Recovery Girl just in case that anything else went wrong. But yeah, Tenya was completely fine, and Bakugo would be reprimanded slightly, nothing crazy, because I mean, Bakugo has done far worse and nothing has happened to him. But nonetheless, he does get slightly reprimanded. Izuku and, well, the rest of his class would watch on as each match would go on. They would see as Shoto Todoroki would display this crazy ice power, and they would see various other people display different versions of different powers and different strategies and so on and so forth. After all of the training is said and done, Izuku and his class would be sent off and dismissed, and Izuku would head home after the second or the whatever day of that next day of UA would be concluded. Izuku, of course, would then arrive back at a brand new day of UA. And with a brand new day becomes a brand new way of training. And that brand new way of training would be, of course, the rescue training. Rescue training is something that Izuku believes he can be very, very, very good at. He has all of the aspects for it. Well, now he has healing, which still doesn't know how he did 100%, but he has stretchy limbs. He can grab people out of big caverns, and frankly, there's a lot of things that Izuku can do with his powers that are built for rescue more than anything else. With that said, Aizawa explains everyone the situation and what they're going to be doing, and they all head off to the bus. During their little bus ride, of course, they do speak about who they believe has the strongest quirk, and frankly, it's kind of a landslide with Izuku. Izuku's quirk is so versatile, or at least what they know as a quirk is so versatile that it's practically unbeatable. He's extremely powerful, super fast, super durable, can heal people. There's just a bunch of things that Izuku can do that is just overarching almost everything in front of him, everybody around him. It's just he outclasses them all. And of course, Bakugo gets pretty mad about this, but it's hard to dispute what Izuku can do, and they've kind of seen it firsthand and have heard about what's going on, and they've seen it in the practical exam of the UA entrance exam. So there's just a lot that Izuku can do that, frankly, a lot of them just cannot. When they arrive at the rescue, or the USJ, or the rescue training facility, they begin to get introduced to Pro Hero 13. Pro Hero 13 begins to explain exactly what they're going to be doing, different rescue exercises, and various other rescue facilities that they're going to be visiting in terms of it could be a water situation, a cliff, a landslide, a collapsed building, stuff like that. Just as these things are being said, Izuku's head begins to just kind of twitch slightly, and he begins to look around and begins to sense something toward the middle of the USJ. And that's exactly where the fountain is. And immediately this portal begins to open up. Izuku immediately points it out toward Aizawa, telling Aizawa that there must be some people with ill intent coming. Aizawa asks Kaminari immediately if he can basically communicate with anybody on the outside, and of course not. They're being blocked off. Before they even knew it, Aizawa would be jumping into action, fending off these so-called villains. But not only that, a warp portal would absorb a bunch of them and throw them off into a different area of the USJ. Izuku would be in this little water area, but he wouldn't even fall into the water, flying up and then flying toward this small boat. He would see Asui and also Mineta, and Mineta would be freaking out, and Izuku immediately tell him to stop messing around and not to worry. He grabs him and Asui and begins to fly off as he shoots a ki blast toward the villains below them. He tells Mineta to throw a bunch of his sticky balls toward those villains so they can get captured away, and that's exactly what happens. Asui and Mineta both say that they're happy that Izuku was there because it made this little situation, let's just say, a lot easier. Izuku slightly smiles and says that it's really no problem. I mean, of course it's the luck of the draw, but it doesn't really matter. He flies over back toward where it's at least relatively safe, dropping both of them off. But he sees as Aizawa is beginning to basically just cut out a bunch of these lower tier villains. Izuku would begin to fly over there as he sees a giant monster about to smash into Aizawa's face. Immediately, Izuku steps in front of Aizawa, taking the blow. And when he takes this blow, he can feel the massive strength behind it. But Izuku does not budge an inch. He begins to ground his feet as much as possible, and he begins to push back this monster that they know as a Nomu. Immediately, Shigaraki sees this and begins to panic, telling Kurogiri that they need to do something now. A portal opens up right in front of Shigaraki as he throws his hand through it, grabbing the arm of Izuku, immediately disintegrating the arm off of Izuku as he's forced to go backwards, getting away from the Nomu and also getting away from Shigaraki. Izuku immediately looks toward Aizawa and asks if he's okay. Aizawa doesn't even know what to say. This kid, his arm is gone. I mean, what are you asking me if I'm okay about? And of course, Izuku would look at him and then look at his arm as he stretches that limb out, and it regenerates back instantaneously. Izuku says that he's fine and that they need to go back into the battle right now, or basically everybody else is going to get hurt. Izuku goes charging back at the Nomu, and immediately when Shigaraki puts his hand through the portal once again, Izuku reads it this time. He immediately puts a ki blast right on the hand of Shigaraki, burning it extremely bad, and he counters immediately after by grabbing Shigaraki's arm, pulling him through the portal, forcing him through because if the portal was closed, he would get cut in half. Shigaraki would then get thrown at a wall as Izuku is charging back at the Nomu. Both Izuku and the Nomu begin to go blow for blow. Of course, Izuku actually at this point can't do any substantial damage to the Nomu, but he can damn well take damage, and that's for sure. His endurance, his strength, his durability at that is at another level, so he begins to take these blows from the Nomu as if it were nothing. Izuku going blow for blow with this Nomu, and it would eventually lead to the one and only All Might arriving. All Might would then charge toward the Nomu, smashing into it. All Might would look toward Izuku and ask if, well, that little trick he did on the giant robot, if they can do that now. Izuku is shocked to realize that All Might was watching him while he did that, and Izuku smiles, saying that yeah, he can, just give him time to charge it up. All Might says that that's what he'll get as Aizawa stands up and says that he'll protect him from Shigaraki and Kurogiri if need be. Immediately Izuku begins to charge it up. The one attack that's basically he used on the giant monster, Light Grenade. That's the goal. He's charging it up, and even the area around them begins to shake, tremor. The floor beneath Izuku begins to break and get destroyed. Izuku would then eventually, after about maybe 30 seconds to a minute, would scream out toward All Might that he's ready. All Might would grab the Nomu and take a blow to the gut, nonetheless throwing the Nomu toward Izuku as Izuku says two words once again, as if he was mimicking himself from the entrance exam. Light Grenade. He smashes the light grenade into the Nomu as it begins to incinerate the Nomu's body, sending him flying out of the USJ. And of course, they don't really know if the Nomu is dead or not, but at least it took insane damage and it flew straight out of here. Shigaraki and Kurogiri realize that this fight, well, it's kind of over, so they're forced to retreat. But just as they're retreating, Shigaraki gets shot in the leg, the arm, and in the other leg. Immediately they're able to leave, but not without any wounds. Izuku is panting, but doesn't feel too tired compared to what he was way back, or not even way back, but back in the entrance exam. He feels pretty good. He feels like he's able to do one more light grenade if need be, but he does kind of want to expand his arsenal in terms of key techniques if he really wants to be more efficient with this type of, well, brawling style. Nonetheless, everybody is safe, and Izuku is basically told to not tell anybody about this little fight, and not to tell anybody that he straight up blew up this creature that looks like a giant bird. Izuku agrees and says that definitely would not be a good look that a student tried to, well, murder a bird-like creature, but nonetheless, everyone is safe and that's all that matters. So, that's exactly what occurs. They head off and they begin, or obviously they're all taken out of the USJ and they are all given a day off. Of course, the USJ incident is a pretty interesting and terrifying incident at that. So nobody's going to want to go into class the day or the next day. So of course they're given that time off. But when they do go into class, they are told about, well, what's going to happen and what's going to occur very, very soon. And that is the UA Sports Festival. The UA Sports Festival is a way for all of them to show off what they can do. Of course, Izuku and everybody else that is extremely powerful and strong, are excited. Class 1A is excited. And frankly, they get to show off their stuff and maybe even get into a really good internship that they really want to get into. And this is just perfect for them all. Izuku, of course, begins to think about all of the things he could go and do if he gets into a good internship. Who could he go with? Mirako would be perfect for him. Maybe Sir Night-Eye. He doesn't know. Maybe someone like Gang Orca or someone that is really good with martial arts. That's all he really cares about. And he just keeps thinking about these things. And of course, he would have to, show out in the UA Sports Festival first. But of course, he will do just that. On top of that, he even has a little speech. On the day of the UA Sports Festival, Izuku Midoriya will be called to the podium. And he walks up and begins to greet everybody. He begins to say that he's gone through a lot throughout his life, especially because of the way he looks. But this is the first time that he'll be able to show everybody that it doesn't really matter how he looks, it just matters how strong he is, how much he wants to save people, and how powerful and what powers are going to allow him to do that. He's going to show off his skills and basically show off everything that he can do. He smiles and then transforms back into his human form and says that he is just like everybody else and that he just looks a little bit different when he transforms. He transforms back into his Namekian form and everybody is basically shocked, but at the same time begins to clap and basically get excited for a prospect like Izuku. Izuku then smiles and tells everyone that they're going to give them one heck of a show, and he runs back toward his class. Of course, the first event would be simple: the obstacle course race. The obstacle course race is a pretty basic race, of course, and well, it all comes down to just going through a variety of obstacles. A giant corridor, a bunch of robots, a ravine, a landmine field, and frankly, it's pretty simple and simple enough. And Izuku would make quick work of this once Midnight would give her little countdown. She would give the countdown and everybody would begin running through the corridor, but Izuku, using his ki, would just fly. He'd shoot off as fast as possible, flying by the corridor, flying by the robots, flying by the ravine, and of course not even touching the ground in the minefield, and he would end with relative ease in a matter of, well, probably about a minute. Izuku would literally just wait. He would just wait for everybody to finish, and of course, after a good bit of waiting, everybody would. But it would be deemed, after all of it is said and done, that Izuku would get a 1 million point headband. And of course, this would mean that in this cavalry battle where points is all that matters, a 1 million point headband would win you the match. But at the same time, Izuku would also be a primary target. So Izuku would try to assemble the best team possible. And frankly, it would end up only being able to get people like Mei Hatsume, Ochaku Oraka, Tokiyami, and that's about it. Unfortunately, everybody else squirmed off, was scared, and didn't want to be with Izuku. So they came up with this amazing plan. This plan was perfect. It was unbeatable. And just as the cavalry's battle started, Izuku, flew straight up. Yeah, they're gonna be chilling in the air with 1 million points. And frankly, Bakugo could try, and he would eventually try, but he would get blasted out of the sky pretty easily, and this process would be pretty, let's say not difficult at all. Izuku would make it so him and the rest of his team would pass very easily, and they would get on to the next round. And frankly, everybody that would get onto the next round normally would get onto the next round. And the next round is something that Izuku has been looking forward to, and that is the 1 versus 1s. This is finally a chance for Izuku to stretch his legs, feel out an opponent, and get some use of his martial arts. In terms of the Nomu fight, it was kind of just brute strength. In terms of the Shigaraki whole, thing of him putting his hand through the portal, that was kind of just outsmarting him. And frankly, he hasn't gotten a chance to really box someone up or even fight. And he hasn't been to his martial arts classes in a long time. Those dojos are kind of just out of the realm of what he needs to be doing at this moment. So he thinks this is a great opportunity. And he'll be able to show it off against Hitoshi Shinso, someone from the general studies. And this fight will go a little bit different than you could possibly imagine, because Hitoshi Shinso has something up his sleeve, a special quirk, skill, one known as brainwashing. Will Izuku fall short and be hypnotized by Shinso's voice, or will Izuku just steamroll over Shinso with his superior martial arts? Well, you're gonna have to find out next time on Dragon Ball. That's the wrong thing. Oh, nonetheless, I hope y'all enjoyed. That is where we are going to leave off. What if Deku was the reincarnation of Piccolo? And if you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, a sub, and a comment down below, all that good stuff. And I hope all of y'all have an amazing day. Later.